Gab with Abigail. If you aren't back and this is your first time on my channel, hi and welcome to Gabs with Abigail, where we talk about the Bates and the Duggars and other D-list fundies. Today, as you can see, we're keeping up with the D-list fundies, and we're going to be doing an intro of the Kellers and catching up with the Rodrigueses. I feel like I kind of had to do an intro of the Kellers, and I want to slowly, steadily introduce us to as many like fundy families as possible without being like super invasive. And I felt like I had to talk about the Kellers because Nurie married into the family, and there's a lot going on with the Kellers as well right now. So let's go ahead and just jump right into the intro. So who are the Kellers? So most people know the Kellers through the Duggars, obviously. And yes, I'm gonna be eating a popsicle, I'm sorry. I have no business eating anything sweet. Like the way I'm about to go to the dentist and have like 6 cavities filled, no business, none, zero, but I just can't help it. But anyway, so the way most people know the Kellers is because Anna Duggar. So Mike and Suzette Keller were married on July 25th, 1980. So they've been married now for 41 years, 31 years, 41 years, has to be, right? Yeah. 41 years, that's a long time. So they were involved in ACI, obviously. They're from Florida. You know about the state of Florida. I don't gotta say it. Okay. Mike has a prison ministry, so that's primarily what he does, is basically he goes into prisons and preaches and tries to convert people. If you don't know, if you're kind of like new to fundamentalism or into Baptist denomination, missionary work is a big thing. A lot of people talk about it with Mormons, but I don't feel like we talk about it enough with, I guess because with Mormons it's doctrine, whereas with Baptists, being a missionary isn't necessarily something you have to do. So what he does isn't necessarily, international missionary work, which is what I should say. Like with Baptists, it's international is the focus, but he does it in prisons. So going around trying to help people get saved, because you're in prison, life is looking difficult, you know what I mean? So yes, that's what he does. Now he must also do something else. They don't make a super ton of money, as one would expect if you're doing that kind of ministry work, and the mom is a stay-at-home mom. But he must do something a little bit extra, because I can't imagine that kind of job paying. There was on like the Fundy Wikipedia saying that he was in some kind of organization, but looking at their website closely, I don't see that he's listed there at all. So where I do think he still does do the ministry work, I do not think he's necessarily affiliated with that particular group. So, but if he was, I mean, that would make sense if they were paying him or he was getting some kind of income from them. But for right now, I have no idea. Again, they don't make a super ton because they live in a trailer almost kind of thing. Not necessarily where you see the Duggars house, the Bates house, how the Spivies live. They don't live like that. They also wrote a book. I can't remember the title right now. And when I start the Fundy Book Club, we're definitely reading this. We're definitely reading this. So if you're interested in joining the book club, keep watching the videos because that'll come out at some point. But yeah, so they have 8 kids, circling back around, and those kids are Esther, Rebecca, Daniel, Priscilla, Anna, oh my God, and who just had the baby? Susanna, did I say Susanna? Yeah. Susanna, Nathan, and the youngest brother, what's his name? David. And the youngest brother, David. So let's start from the top. So some of them are in their lifestyle still, some of them aren't. But what I will say is that they still maintain despite that, a really, really close family bond, it seems like. And it's really beautiful. So Esther, the oldest, is married to John Schrader, who is the son of a independent fundamentalist Baptist pastor, and he is himself also a pastor, currently doing missionary work in Zambia, which is some tea we're about to get into. So she's still pretty much living, for for the most part, the lifestyle that she was raised in. They have 12 children. Yes, I said 12. Insane. We very rarely see them on like Anna or Priscilla's pages when they're having like the Thanksgiving get-togethers. I can only assume because they're living in Zambia right now and have 12 children, that might be expensive to be just casually flying back to America for Thanksgivings and Christmases. And in general, that I'm sure even if they lived, because they previously were living in Washington State, traveling with that many kids has to be super expensive. The realities of living this kind of quiverful lifestyle is that most people really don't have a lot of money. Especially you're expected to be kind of in a self-sufficient business and not necessarily working for somebody for a 9-to-5 paycheck. That being said, 12 kids, and let's talk about her husband, John. So yeah, he's been like accused of basically having white savior complex by some of the people that he's worked with. I'll try and insert some quotes. And kind of being arrogant and egotistical in a sense. Just very, very, very like the suggestion gave, white savior colonizer vibes. And watching him do like a prayer or preaching one of the few times that they were home, yeah, I get that vibe for sure. Yeah, for sure. And like, oh my God, just a vibe. No, I just kind of get the vibe that that's very true about him. In general, the idea of going into foreign countries under the guise of helping them develop by force-feeding your religion to them is just, it's neo-colonialism. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's neo, right? It's what's different about it than hundreds of years ago when it first started. It's just very weird. So he had that criticism. And there's nothing really said about her, and I can only imagine she's just out there being a helpmeet. They had, I think, 2 or 3 of their kids while they were out in Zambia. That's that. So Esther is still very much living the lifestyle in a sense, but technically she's not doing like ATI, but she's still homeschooling her kids, obviously not using contraception. And yeah, 12 kids, and she's had them within the span, I think, of like 15 years or something crazy, had them really all back to back to back to back to back. And no judgments there, except I just feel like that's a lot of stress on your body. And the idea that she had some of those kids in Zambia, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Next child, Rebecca. Let's talk about Rebecca. Okay, so for Rebecca, for the longest time, okay, I have been curious about, okay, so first of all, Rebecca was married and got a divorce. She was married for about maybe 2 or 4 years and had 2 children, 2 daughters, before getting a divorce. Which is crazy in the grand scheme of how she was raised. Like, divorce is a terrible, terrible thing. And I can only assume that she did courtship, so I think it's almost ironic that in their family there's so many examples of how it didn't work. And we'll get on to that with the other siblings. So she got a divorce, and she's gotten remarried, and she's been remarried for a while now. So obviously this is the one, this is her person, which is beautiful. But what I'm going to say is she has caught a big fish, because I knew her husband had to be rich when she flew everybody on a private plane, her husband's apparently private plane, to go, where did they go? I think it was Nurie's wedding, 2020 COVID. It's like, honey, you just casually have a private plane? What's going on? We're talking money. This isn't, I know what you're thinking. Oh, the Duggars and the Bates fly their little tiny private plane all the time. No, honey, this is like a private luxury chartered flight, basically, okay? Nobody had a little license that they flew. No, it was 2 pilots who have their license, okay, who flew them in this private plane, all right? When we think about celebrity Instagram flex, that type of private plane, okay? This wasn't no Duggar Bates nonsense, honey. This was money talking. So I was so curious, like, what does her husband do? All the time at work, when I used to see people who had like really big, because I work in financial aid, who had really big FAFSAs, I said big FAFSAs, but a lot of money. I wanted to ask them so bad, so what does your husband do? I want, just out of curiosity, where do I find him? And that's how I felt about Rebecca's husband. Okay, and so I did my Googles, I did my research. I'm not going to say where he worked or what exactly he does, but basically, so they're living in Texas, and basically what he does is he works in the oil industry.
You got money. He got money.
For Becca, girl, you got into some money. Proud of you. I mean, could you imagine going from a Fundie lifestyle, getting a divorce, and you catch a rich husband? I mean, sis is living the dream. All your whole life, you're raised to be humble, to be good, to be this, and you get to fall in love with an oil tycoon, basically. Ugh. Love that for her. Love it. But, and that's it. Literally, she doesn't have like a social media that we know of or that's public. Living her best life. Go ahead, sis. Next, so Daniel. So Daniel is the oldest brother, the oldest son. But he's had conflict with the family as well. He's also been married and divorced. Him and his wife actually adopted, his ex-wife adopted a child because she couldn't have any kids. And then ultimately they got a divorce. And he is now remarried. He's actually remarried to a person of color, which, not that it matters, but it's just interesting because almost like she looks just so different from the rest of the family, and I don't want to say that in a weird way, but just knowing that he had a lot of conflict with his family, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it's a funny. Looking at him, I'd want to ask, where did they meet? You know, but good for him again. So another child who got divorced and is now remarried, and there was conflict between him and his family. I think part of it was because disagreeing about some of their beliefs, having grown up IBLP, ATI. In 2015, when the Ashley Madison scandal broke surrounding Josh Duggar, Daniel infamously called his brother-in-law a pig and felt that Anna should leave him and that he would financially support his sister in the interim, or at least a temporary separation so that Josh could learn his lesson. He was open about the fact that his parents were encouraging Anna to stay because of how divorce would look. In retrospect, with all the news that's come out recently about Josh Duggar, I mean, how wrong was he? But they have managed to make up again, which is awesome. Okay. Next, Priscilla. I don't feel like I have to say too much about Priscilla because I introduced Priscilla in our last video, but still sipping the Kool-Aid, still a very big part of ATI. Because her husband they live in Texas as well, and that's where the big Sandy family conference is, and they're still, I'm pretty sure what David does is like, and what pays him, what takes care of the family is literally working for IBLP. So yeah, they're all up in it. I'm waiting for them to announce their next baby. I'm actually very surprised that we haven't got one, especially in 2020. Nobody could go anywhere. We've been expecting everybody to be like humping like bunnies in this, organization, but nothing really else to catch up with. Their kids are really super cute though. They're adorable, for all of their beliefs, and like almost why it's like hard to watch them be brought up into this kind of lifestyle. They're so cute. They're so cute. The genes really came together for Priscilla and David. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Next is Anna, infamous, the most famous of all the Kellers, Anna Duggars. Again, that's how we meet the Kellers, is through Anna, who is married to Josh. They have 6 kids and have just announced that they're about to have their 7th baby. Anna is a housewife, obviously being married to Josh Duggar and everything that went on with that, and still being married and now pregnant with baby number 7. Very clearly still drinking the Kool-Aid, which is so interesting to me. Yeah. What I want to say about Anna's pregnancy is people have been speculating about it for months, especially in from the Christmas video that Jessa did. If the baby's being born in fall and she's just announced the gender, what I want to say is that she only recently got pregnant. So I hope you guys know how messed up that was to basically be calling her fat, and I say that only to say she had gained a lot of weight and hadn't really lost weight between her pregnancies, and that's no shade or anything. After having 6 kids, and I'm sure in many ways her life is emotionally stressful. I don't want to speak on her like I know her like that, but I'm sure that there are ways her life is a little bit emotionally stressful that we don't see. Josh has also really gained a lot of weight too. So at the time that this was filmed, the news of Josh Duggar's arrest had not yet broke. Now that this is out and he's formally been charged on federal charges for child pornography, this is absolutely insane. It was going to be the principal rule of my channel not to discuss his past issues. One, because Fundy Fridays has a great video on it. And two, out of respect for the fact that there are real victims who are affected by the abuse that he's inflicted. And that I don't want any part in their trauma. But definitely, we're going to be keeping up with how this story develops. Susanna. Okay, where Anna might be the most popular, the most well-known of all the Kellers. And I said infamous, but Susanna is the biggest rebel, okay? Miss Susanna, I always feel like she's just never been big into the lifestyle. If you watch the video where Anna and Josh like get engaged, they first get engaged and we kind of like meet the Kellers outside. They do a lineup of them, of those who came, because I think Esther wasn't there. I think at that point she was already married. Rebecca wasn't there. I think at that point she was already married. And Daniel wasn't there. At that point I think he was already married. But Susanna is there, obviously, and because she's Anna's younger sister, and she just seems over it. She just seems like she's over it. But, you know, she's in those teenage years, I'm sure, being just a little bit of a rebel. And at that point already. And she eventually goes on to get pregnant out of wedlock, which I think is just so ironic because during that video talking about Anna and Josh's, or that episode talking about Anna and Josh's wedding and talking about courtship, this is what Anna has to say about sex.
A couple weeks before we got married, we were able to sit down and have a conversation about what marriage was and how special it is once you're married to be able to be intimate emotionally and physically with your husband, and it was special. And I think it's important to wait until you need that information to get it, because a lot of people get it too soon and they end up making choices that they regret.
And so for Susanna to actually get pregnant out of wedlock, I just wonder, how did she find out about sex? You know, because clearly their parents were not talking to them about it. How was she meeting this boy? What was going on? You know, she should do an interview, okay? The streets want to know it. Susanna, if you're ever ready to talk, come have a gab with us. I'm telling you, I'm a very open-minded person. Okay. But yeah, so she gets pregnant out of wedlock, has a daughter. I think there is kind of like a little bit of a falling out that she has with her family. But ultimately, you know, they take her back. They love her. She is living out of wedlock for a while with her baby's daddy, I think. But our good sis Susanna does get it together and is really living her best life now from what it looks like. She got remarried. And I think a lot of it for Susanna is just that having grown up the way that they did, like not everybody's going to drink the Kool-Aid, right? Not everybody's going to be committed to the boxes that somebody puts you in. Some people are going to rebel against it, and it's not because you're a bad parent, but because, or that you have this naturally rebellious spirit, because that wasn't for you, though. There's just too many rules. There's too many restrictions, where her life might have had a very different trajectory had she not been raised that way. And that's not to insult her parents, because most parents you try, like I said, her parents look like genuinely really good, sweet people trying to do the right thing. So their intentions were probably good, and still, you know, yeah, I just think she wanted to be her own person, and she wanted to live out in the regular world, you know, get to wear shorts, you know, wear pants, wear jeans, all of that. And it just kind of, her life took the path that it did while she got to a place where she could do that for herself. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that necessarily. Yeah, my hair is itchy. Okay. So yeah, she's gotten remarried since. She was pregnant recently and had a baby boy, Nash, just born actually a couple days ago, or I guess it'll be like a week, 2 weeks ago by the time this video comes out. And seems very happy, seems like in a very good place in her life. For the baby shower, it's all the sisters, except Esther, who's in Zambia. Jeez. I don't know, I'm kind of worried about her. I don't know, something that makes me worried about her. But she just had a baby shower, and I think they had it at either Rebecca's beach house.
Cause I'm asked, what the what? What a money reside, what a money reside, what a money reside, what a money reside. Okay, I'll tell you before.
I want to say it has to be Rebecca because she's married to the oil tycoon, okay? He's not an oil tycoon, but he does work in oil, okay? It has to be her, okay? Because you don't have a private plane, all right, and not get a beach house first. Which one are you going to buy first, the second house or the private plane? Me, I'm buying the beach house first. Maybe comment below and tell me, okay? You're rich, you have all this money. Are you buying the private plane first, or are you buying the beach house first, all right? But anyway, so that is Susanna in a nutshell, basically. Next is Nathan. Nathan, I would say Nathan Keller is who probably most of us know, or most of y'all know if you keep up with the Rodriguezes, because he is married to Nurie. And there's a lot that I could say about that. So, and let's get into it. As I said in my courtship video, a big part of these being arranged relationships and marriages is just controlling the environment of where your children can meet suitable matches, people who live your same kind of lifestyle. And that's definitely been the case with Nurie and Nathan. Now, am I going to sit here and say it was super duper arranged as if they had no choice? No, because like I also explained in that video, the man has to initiate the relationship. But the Rodriguez parents have been cultivating and nursing this relationship between their families, so the Kellers and their family, for a long time. If we go back, there are pictures and videos of them, the Rodriguezes, at the Kellers house in Florida and spending time with them. So we get these super prepubescent photos of, you know, Nathan being around Nurie and her sisters and her siblings, and where at that time, of course, these are innocent little middle school relationships, not relationships, but like, you know, friendships, and, you know, fellowship, as they're constantly calling it. They, if you look at the Rodriguez's family vlog page or blog page, whatever, the way they basically scream up and down and like jizz themselves about being around the Kellers because of Anna being a Duggar, and just so many photos that she has, like Anna Duggars family, Anna Duggars, whatever, to the point where it's almost kind of like uncomfortable because Anna's not even there at all. So it's weird that you're mentioning her. Like, these are people who it seems like you're building a relationship with, who hosted you and courted you, and you're talking about Anna, who's all the way in Bumfuck, Arkansas. Like, it's weird. It's weird. Because it's like a level of like fandom, just the descriptions that she'll use, okay? Like, I just, like, having to emphasize that it's Anna Duggar's parents or siblings. It's just weird. It's just weird. So, like I said, that's how they orchestrated that kind of thing, maintaining like those really long relationships together. They had a super short courtship. I think from courtship to marriage, you know, engagement, maybe a year max. Yeah, but again, like I talk about, I didn't get to talk about this because for some reason it cut out, but courtships being short is also a thing, like on purpose. So that's not unexpected. So they got married last year during 2020 on Nathan's parents' wedding anniversary. So they, in keeping up with the Rodriguezes, just announced that they're about to have their first baby due in October. Moving on next is Daniel Keller. No, oh my God. David Keller is the youngest. David and Nathan actually have a lawn mowing business. I've been wondering for the longest time, what does Nathan do for money to be supporting Nurie? No offense or anything. And not that, it's so interesting to me because where I feel for Jim Bob, money. Why I would say that is like whenever they're eating, whenever they're out doing something, whenever they see the cameras on them for mom, they put on this smile or whatever, and it's like, why did you do all that? You know? And I say that because it's this weird, creepy, like Rodriguez family. The camera is on.